Good afternoon, YouTube. My name is Paul. I am the LA engineer, or at least I hope to be calling myself an engineer in the very near future. So I'm making this video because I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a full-time job in mechanical engineering. And I want people that receive an application package from me to get an idea what type of person I am. I realize that you have dozens, if not maybe over 100 applicants. It's a lot of resumes, cover letters, websites, maybe even Facebook profiles and LinkedIn profiles to read through. So if a picture is 1,000 words, there's 24 frames a second. Well, maybe I don't know how many words a video is, but the point is a lot, right? So I'm going to try to save you some time, tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm also going to use this channel to highlight some engineering skills so that you can see that I'm a lot more than just a degree. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm not the type of person to call in sick. So unless I'm really, really, really sick, then I don't want to get the office, contagious. I'm not going to show up to work with the plague. But let's get down to the meat and potatoes. I'm going to try to make this a somewhat brief video. Okay, 406. I'm going to go through the top 10 interview questions, and I'm not sure what they think the best answers are, but I'm going to give you my honest answer. Number 1, what is your greatest strength? I used to struggle with this question a little bit, but I think the clear answer for me is going to be persistence. Throughout my life, gone through ups and downs, trials and tribulations, but I know that the one character trait that has carried me probably further than any other trait is my persistence, dogged persistence. I do not give up easily. I am always trying to find the solution to whatever problem I have. And I'm not sure what your personal experience is dealing with people that face challenges in work, but you will very seldom hear me use an excuse like, I'm waiting for this person to get back to me. I'm waiting for an email from so-and-so. Now, to be fair, I am very proactive with my follow-up. So there's a good chance that if you're asking me a question that I don't have the answer to, then I already have followed up with someone else. But the point is, if you give me 24 hours or a couple days to figure out something, I'm going to be putting 110% of my energy into the solution, into getting more information so that I can solve the problem, or finding out who I need to speak with to solve the problem. So greatest strength would definitely be my persistence in achieving whatever goals I set out to achieve. What is my greatest weakness? Oh, that's kind of a challenging one too. What's your biggest weakness? I think my biggest weakness is that I've come to, through the years, almost demand a level of professionalism from others similar to myself. So I project the type of professionalism that I want from others based on how professional I am. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, I'm the one who has an issue that needs resolved and I'm trying to get it from you, okay? Let's say my boss asks me something 8 o'clock on a Monday, and I don't know the answer to it, so I bug you at 9 o'clock on Monday, and you say, I'll get back to you when I have a chance. Fair enough. I expect, and I'd probably try to let the person know, when the timeline of when I'm trying to get a response, but I would expect that the individual that I ask would take some sort of meaningful action maybe before the end of the day. Maybe if they're not going to resolve it for me by the end of the day, they would at least not wait until like 4:30, right? If they didn't think they could get me the answer, then I might hope for an email back or something like that, right? But the bottom line is everyone's busy, everyone has their own priorities. So just because something is important to you and you would try to do your best to get an answer back to someone doesn't mean that all your coworkers are necessarily to feel the same way. So that just means you have to be a little sensitive at work when you're dealing with other people, because not everyone might be as professional as me or might be as timely in their follow-up as I am. So it just takes a little bit of understanding when you're dealing with other coworkers or professionals or clients or third-party vendors or whoever you're dealing with. I have found that not everyone is always professional as I would like, but that's life. So you kind of do the best that you can in the situation that you're in. Tell me about yourself. Man, I could talk forever about that, right? Well, I'll give you the short answer. I had lived in California almost my whole life. I've worked in a few different careers. Worked in construction, worked in real estate, worked with attorneys. So you might be wondering, well, why are you going to engineering? Well, I wanted to be an engineer for a very long time, and I didn't quite go through all the steps, right out of high school to become an engineer. So I kind of worked a few different careers, found out that I wasn't really passionate about the stuff that I was doing, that I really wanted to design and build stuff and help other people design and build things. So that's kind of my career story. Personal life-wise, I'm into different stuff. I like the outdoors. I love hiking, camping. I'm building a windsurf Moran boat right now, which is kind of crazy. I'll talk about that in some future videos. I'm also working on this top secret project that is a top secret manufacturing device, which I'm going to talk about in some upcoming videos. So that's a little bit about my personal life. About me, what type of person I am. Very hardworking, very loyal, friendly, diligent, positive, upbeat, but also, realistic. I wouldn't say cynic, but cynical, but definitely realistic about the future. Try to have pretty sensible expectations about work, about other people, about life. But sometimes you just can't predict what's going to happen. You have to kind of be flexible. And life has definitely taught me to be a little bit versatile through the years. So, number 4, why should we hire you? It's a good question. And as far as why you should hire me, I would say you should hire me if I'm a strong candidate for the position. I do try to only apply to jobs where I am a strong candidate. If somebody's looking for 3 years designing rocket propulsion stuff, I'm not going to apply to that. But if someone's looking for like 0 to 2 years or 0 to 1 years, it's a little bit challenging for me because I haven't professionally worked as an engineer. But of course I have work experience and I have the degree, and I've done, kind of engineering stuff in school here and there. So I guess the short answer to that question is you should hire me if you think I'm a very strong candidate for the position. If I have the right skills, if I have the right background, if you need someone to solve problems, if you need someone to wear a lot of different hats, if you need someone to speak with a lot of different departments. I'm so comfortable on the phone, very comfortable speaking to all different types of people, from the owner all the way to the janitor. I really, I have no qualms about talking to anyone at the top or the bottom of the company, and I treat them all with the same respect as they deserve to be treated with. So I will leave that as the answer to number 4. Number 5, what are your salary expectations? Well, this is my response to that, and it's not a response that a lot of employers like, because employers sometimes they want to kind of like stick you in and get an answer, right? But you got to keep in mind, I've worked in different areas before, and I used to work in real estate. So in real estate, when you want to sell a house, you talk with your agent, you do all that stuff, you get the house listed. Once you list the house, you list it at a listing price. Now, in any negotiation, You have two parties. You have a good being sold, either a good or a service, right? In the case of real estate, you have the house, and the first part of the negotiation is the house is listed on the market at this price, X. So, excuse me. In regards to this question, what are your salary expectations? If you translate that into real estate, what you get is, what are you willing? It's sort of like the person that's offering the thing to sell says, what are you willing to pay for it? So it's like a listing agent asking a buyer, what are you willing to pay for the house? Now you can see that's kind of a weird thing, right? Because the listing agent already listed the house. So that the next official move in the negotiation would be for the buyer to say, I'm willing to put in an offer at this price. Now what's weird about the whole employment thing is that you have a job offered, and then the employer asks you, well, what are your salary expectations? But the way that I see it from a negotiation standpoint is, the job is saying, the employer is saying, I have a job to offer you at X, and me, the employee or potential employee, my response is, I'm willing to work for X, subject to an offer, right? So the way I see what are your salary expectations, I don't see that conversation making sense from a negotiation standpoint, because me going through the interview, I'm kind of putting forth my energy towards, I'm willing to work, at the advertised salary rate. And for me, it doesn't make sense for an employer to offer a job if they're not offering a salary, because if we're just talking about working, we're talking about working. But if you have a job position open, the position, even if it doesn't pay a specific amount, it's going to pay a range. So although it may frustrate some employers, unfortunately, based on my negotiation experience, the short answer to what are my salary expectations they are commensurate with what the market is paying. And as far as how much, the direct question, what are you hoping to make for this job? My response is always, if you'd like to make an official job offer, if you'd like to submit a hiring offer to me, I'd be more than happy to respond to it. But to negotiate before an offer's on the table, it's like a buyer and a seller for a house talking about how much they feel like paying for it without the offer being there. And it's just not the way that I negotiate. So anyways, number 6, why are you leaving or have you left your job? Well, I currently work as a part-time handyman, and I have to be honest, I love my job. I love my clients. They're all the best. I could put together trampolines the rest of my life and be happy. The only problem is I'm not getting 40 hours of work a week. So I guess the answer to why am I leaving my job, I'm not able to pay all my bills based on my current level of marketing. Unfortunately, I'm a much better handyman than I am a marketer. So a little bit difficult. Number 7, why do you want this job? Well, it kind of depends on the job that I'm applying for, but the short answer is because I want to be an engineer. Excuse me. I want to build stuff. I want to design stuff. I want to make the world a better place, a safer place. If you look at some of the jobs that I've been applying to, concrete companies and manufacturing companies and companies that forge things. And so the types of jobs I'm applying for: robotics, design, operations, CNC work, ultrasonic stuff, some maritime stuff, some aerospace stuff, some tool design things, some automobile manufacturers. I want to build, I want to design, I want to do the work that engineers want to do. So I could better answer that question if I was speaking to a specific job. And in the future, I am absolutely going to make some of these videos cater specifically to jobs that I have applied for. I have done that in the past with some limited success. It takes a little bit of time to make a video for every job I apply to, but I'm more than willing to put in the work. Number 8, how do you handle stress and pressure? God, it's a great question. What a phenomenal question. Well, I don't freak out, usually, right? Um, Depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. When things don't go smoothly, how do you respond? Well, it kind of depends. Trying to think of a short answer to that question. Let me say this. Sometimes you just have to deal with it, right? Sometimes you just have to suck it up. If you're digging a trench and you've dug half the trench and you're stressed out because your boss says, dig the trench faster, look, unless you're going to go hire an excavator or go get 5 guys to help you, you just have to deal with it. Just got to suck it up, be an adult, and do your job, right? But let's talk about when maybe you're feeling so much stress and pressure that you start potentially not making the right decisions. That's when you got to be careful. So in some instances, you have to step back and say, and maybe reframe the question into, is there another way that I can deal with this? Is there some help that I can get? Is there clarity that I can seek on this issue? Can I step back and let this sit for a while? Maybe this isn't urgent. Maybe it's stressing myself out unnecessarily. I can come back to it later. I will definitely say that avoiding, trying to be proactive is a good way to mitigate that stress. And let me go back to the example of following up with a coworker for, getting an issue resolved at work. Let's say it's Thursday. My boss comes to me Thursday afternoon and says, I really need XYZ done. Whatever you have to do, do it. Okay? Now, if I can do XYZ myself, stay an extra hour and just finish it, I'm just going to finish it, do it, that's fine. Now, what if I need to bug a couple people for help on XYZ? No fault of my own, I just have to ask people for help. And the boss told me I have to get it done, so now I'm telling these other people they have to get it done, and since they're kind of under the boss, they kind of have to do it too, right? But what if I get a little resistance? And I ask person A, and person A says, well, I'm a little bit busy, can you ask person B? And I ask person B, and person B says, well, I'm also busy, have you tried person A, or have you tried person C? So you can kind of see where this is going, right? At that point, the employee is feeling a little bit of extra stress. I need to get this done. The boss is on me. I need a little bit of help, and my coworkers are giving me just a little bit of resistance. What do you do? Well, there's a few ways you can handle that situation. I think the way that I would probably handle it is I would go back to person A, B, and C and say, look, I really need some help with this. I can't do it by myself. I would absolutely do it by myself if I could. A, B, and C have all said that they're a little bit busy. I try to work with them. Like, look, could you help me out with a little bit? Could you help me out with part of it, right? Part of the project. Maybe ask them if there's anyone else they know that can help me. Can they donate their assistant to me for 30 minutes or an hour? Sometimes it's a thing with priorities, right? The boss asked me to work on something, but person A, B, and C say they can't because they're busy working on other things. Well, if I can talk to the boss, maybe go back to the boss and say, look, I've tried to get a little bit of help on this. Some of the people that I'm working with say that they're working on other things. Can you give me a green light and let me know that this is more important that A, B, and C are working on? And that really helps. It's not like I'm trying to sick the boss on them, but it enables me to go back to them and say, look, I'm sorry to kind of throw this wrench into your workday, but I talked to the boss. The boss said this does take priority. Look, if you can help me out just a little bit, I'll owe you, right? Not to say that you should be, offering to buy your coworkers lunch or something every time they help you out, but, try to be nice. Sometimes you just have to be a little nice. Sometimes you just have to beg people, could you please help me? I really need help with this. I need to figure this out. I need to get the answer. I need to finish this. this is important because XYZ, or maybe just because the boss said I needed to do it. Maybe that's a good enough reason. In fact, it kind of should be a good enough reason. So, how do you handle stress and pressure? I do the best that I can in each situation, but I definitely don't freak out. I definitely don't start going around with a chicken with its head cut off. You have to keep cool and calm and kind of do the best you can. Do a quick time check here, 20 minutes. All right, I'm going to wrap this up real quick. We're on question number 9, 2 more questions to go. Describe a difficult work situation or project and how you overcame it. Oh, well, I have definitely had some challenging work situations. Difficult work situation. Well, recently all my work is all handyman related, so as much as I want to talk about how I overcame the challenge of how to hang a curtain rod or how to put together a trampoline, I'm not sure those stories are going to be very relevant to my engineering work. Difficult work situation. Difficult work situation. Difficult project. Well, since my mind is escaping, the answer to this question is escaping me as it relates to some of my most recent full-time work. The work at Quality Loan Service was mostly kind of not very exciting processing files, so it wasn't really any difficult work situation, so to speak. The biggest challenge that I have when I'm putting these things together for clients is that most of the time the instructions do not have any words. There's just pictures. All these stuff from IKEA has no instructions in any language. The stuff from other sites sometimes has pictures. So what will happen is that the only way to differentiate between how something is supposed to go together or what piece is which is by looking very specifically at the diagram. So there might be 3 pieces and they're all cylinders, but one has 2 holes like this and one has 2 holes like this. Or one has 2 holes and 1 hole and one has 1 hole and 1 hole. So I guess the answer to this question is I took a step back, I slowed down, I looked really, really carefully at the instructions and just tried to see if I could figure out what the solution was. I just went back and looked over it until it came to me. Sometimes you just have to trudge ahead. Sometimes you just have to keep putting it together, and until you figure out that you're putting it together wrong, you can't tell until you try to put it together wrong that it's the wrong way to put it together. And I even am a little reticent to say that, and it's not a technique I use very, very often, but if you saw some of these instructions that I was dealing with, and I've never started a project that I didn't finish for a client. If I say I can put it together and I get there, I'm not going to leave until I come back the next day or until it's done. I've never quit an assembly project on a client ever. So number 10, what are your goals for the future? Well, these are my goals, and they're very simple, and it helps me stay focused. Get a full-time job, buy some land, build a house, get married, have some kids, make America great, live happily ever after, give back to the community. Those are my goals. That's all I want out of life. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to be multi-millionaire. I don't need to be famous. I just want to make a positive difference in the world. That's part of the reason I went back to get this degree. Look, the money is one thing. I was making good money in real estate. I was making money working with the attorneys. I was even making good money in construction. I've walked away from several decent paying careers. Why? Because life's not about money. Life's about doing what you love. And I love engineering. Love it to death. And it pains me that I'm not doing it right now, at least not more than school, which is where the secret box comes in. Gonna get me into that. So, I hope that answers some of your questions and gives you at least a little bit of an idea of the type of person that I am. I may not sound like your typical engineer, but that's probably because I'm not a typical engineer. I'm an engineer coming from the business world, coming from real estate, coming from the legal world, coming from a non-engineering world, but I was raised by an engineer. My father is a civil engineer. I get along with engineers, and I think they're all right. I think they're all right. And I think lawyers are all right, too. You know, maybe that says I'm crazy. But at any rate, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, keep engineering.